is not me leveling the playing field. It is staying on focus, because the focus for me has always been Washington, D.C., the Khazarian controlled um, uh, um, military wing of the Cabal. Stay focused on the political crime scene, which is every level of politics, local, state, federal, in this nation. That's the target. I will never be derailed.
So I had a front row seat to your debacle. You were hit hard by MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, followed up by another hard hit by Alan Dershowitz. And God bless Alan Dershowitz for standing by the Constitution when it comes to supporting the president on some of the challenges that he's had. But there's a whole other side of Alan Dershowitz. But what I'd like to talk about is what incoming did you take from Rachel to Alan, how that impacted the ReAwaken tour, and your dialogues with the Trumps.
These attacks by Rachel Maddow were coming at me for a year, about every week before a ReAwaken event, because people were trying to shut that down everywhere Clay Clark went. Lost venues. He had to book 3 to make sure somebody actually stuck. A lot of cowards in this country, even patriots that are quote unquote patriots that are cowards. I don't consider them patriots because they back down. I started to, back in 2020, when I started my radio show, I started laying out the history of the Khazarian Mafia. You know, it's interesting because back in that day, politics and the whole evolution of this for 30 years, I've never heard the term Khazarian Mafia and didn't know who they were. And I stumbled on Gordon Duff's research and I started going down that rabbit hole. Then I started laying it out to my audience in 2020, who the Khazarian Mafia are, how they got control of the planet. And then now it's a common term. I mean, anybody, everybody, people on your show, the colonels, are talking about Khazarian Mafia. But it started to strike that chord, and it was identifying who these real killers are on the planet that seize control of everything. The central banks seized control of royal families, bred their way in, murdered their way in to get full control. They run Washington, D.C. So anyways, over the years, people would ask me to come on. Hey, would you come on and explain the Khazarian Mafia? My audience, one of those was Alpha Warrior. Back in 2023, I believe it was, I was one morning, I was on my bus parked over here getting ready to head out on an event to the Trump Derailed, that ReAwaken event. And I got a call from, or I got something from Alpha. Thanks for making me famous. I'm like, what are you talking about? He sends me the clip of Rachel Maddow, this coming up to event, attacking me on MSNBC. And what she would do, she would take the word, where I'd say Khazarian Mafia, she'd pull out Khazarian Mafia, stick in the word Jews. So I'm saying the Jews. I never talk like that. And they're not Jewish or have ancient Hebrew DNA. Anyways, they're Khazarians, Khazarian bloodline. They're fake. Call them fake Jews if you want. They're hiding behind Judaism. Anyways, I get that call. I thought, okay, Alpha. We kind of laughed about it. A few minutes later, I get a call from Clay Clark. Scott, would you do General Flynn and myself a favor? Would you denounce Hitler? Right? Because in that certain segment, I said, Adolf Hitler was fighting the same people back then as we're fighting today, the Rothschild central bankers, which is true and provable. Well, Maddow then basically made that as if I'm a Hitler lover and all that. So Dershowitz then comes out. He sees this, and I didn't know this. All I knew is that day when it happened, I said to Clay, yeah, I can do whatever I'll denounce it, whatever you want from the stage. I kind of had an idea, but I thought this is kind of insulting. I'm not even going to really address and say, what's this about? So I have our buses downtown Dallas. I got my team ready to board the bus. I get a call from Clay Clark, says, hey, Eric Trump pulled you from the Trump Derailed. I'm like, what? We had this discussion. That led to me, Eric and I having a phone call. Eric just saying, Scott, I'm asking you to kind of work with me here. And I got a lot of Jewish people who are threatening to walk out off the job because they believe this stuff, this crap. Anyway, so we had a discussion. And of course, I agreed and said I can acquiesce to that because I don't want to have them successfully use me or Patriot Street Fighter to try to damage the Trump campaign or anything. But I found out the next day what really happened was Alan Dershowitz told the whole world in a 30-minute vicious attack on me, called me a horrible Nazi and anti-Semite, which made him a fool because my life was saved by an Ashkenazi Jew. The Ashkenazis, I guess, are the true Khazarians. A wonderful man took me in after I was killed in a motorcycle crash, left paralyzed, destroyed, ended up homeless, crippled, and penniless 8 months after the crash, refused a disability check. A very dear friend of mine insisted that I live with him. He was disabled in a motorized chair. I've known him for years. I watched him lose his abilities that way. And it made his life safer as well. So I had a place to live, bathroom, bedroom. And I lived with my good friend Alan, where I could fight back and overcome paralysis and walk again. So an Ashkenazi Jew saved my life, but I'm an anti-Semite. Well, that's how that all came down. I was excused from the ReAwaken tour. And the thing that was bizarre about it, and I think, arguably or maybe inarguably, Patriot Street Fighter was the biggest ticket seller. Tickets, I didn't get any money for it, but ticket sales are the biggest draw to Patriot Street Fighter or to the ReAwaken tour. That was told to me by the inside people at Clay's organization. You're the biggest draw for the ReAwaken tour, which is flattering. I mean, I thought, what an honor. Anyway, so yeah, they removed me from that tour, and I could have gone public and rained a shitstorm down again on an unfair situation, but I didn't, because I felt what's critical is the mission. It is not Scott McKay. It is not me leveling the playing field. It is staying on focus, because the focus for me has always been Washington, D.C., the Khazarian controlled military wing of the Cabal. Stay focused on the political crime scene, which is every level of politics, local, state, federal, in this nation. That's the target. I will never be derailed. I've had people stolen hundreds of thousands from me. I could dice them up on here on my channel. I say nothing. I stay focused on the target. And but Alan Dershowitz, I didn't need to attack Alan Dershowitz, because I knew the world would find out that he's on the Epstein list. I knew the world would find out 14-year-old girls have accused Alan Dershowitz of raping them on Epstein Island. I knew that would settle itself out. And that's what happened and why I was removed from the ReAwaken America tour. I will still say that I think that was one of the most important things that happened in the nation, was a tour. I commend General Flynn. I commend Clay Clark for doing it. Clay Clark's paid a price for it as well. And I'm honored. And it was a great privilege to have been on that tour. So even though it turned out a little differently than I probably should have, but that's kind of how that all went down. And at the end of the day, as I say, John, you're victorious when the other side runs the white flag of surrender up the pole by pulling out the anti-Semite card. It always seems to be their last hurrah when they've lost the debate. He's an anti-Semite. It always works, right? Well, I don't think it did, because Rachel Madcow's off the news plane, and Alan Dershowitz has been exposed for whatever Alan Dershowitz might have been involved in at Epstein Island.
The global financial reset is underway and happening now. The battle rages on with competing parallel systems. The current deep state Federal Reserve Central Bank system and the system President Trump and team has developed. While the dawning of the golden age is upon us, we are presently in the danger zone through the reset transition.
Join me and my prominent guests every Wednesday live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on JMC Broadcasting's backup Rumble channel on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Sign up for JMC's free weekly war report, including notifications of when the Global Financial Reset Show is published. The future is bright, and it belongs to us, not to the global elite.
Global Financial Reset. Only from JMC Broadcasting.